Hey up lads and lasses, Damphyre here, back again with some more Infinite Lagrange. Today we are going through another one of the Generation Legacy gameplay previews, and this time it is showing off some of the items that we can build and bring into systems with us. So, definitely going to be an interesting one because this could potentially change up some of the meta things that happen within the game. Especially, scouting and stuff like that can be done by satellites and that kind of thing, which is going to be kind of cool. So we'll read through and they give us a little description of what they kind of do. And let's have a vote at the end and see which ones are most liked by you guys, the community. So drop comments down below. Let me know which ones you think are really quite game-changing. So, tactical item description. Tactical items are disposable technical weapons that can be delivered to explorers' operations, buildings, or fleet, offering a range of diverse strategic and tactical advantages. First one, we got the Space Operation Planning Coordinator. When applied to activated operations, reduces the action point consumed when the explorer's fleet targets these operations for actions. This is a really interesting one. A lot of the time when you are severely outnumbered within the game, and it does happen quite regularly, people will sort of alliance up and stuff like that, and you'll have a single union versus like 3 or 4 or 5. And action points can be the determining factor of you being able to win that or lose it, and etc. So being able to reduce action points within your operation, if this is also like, if you put one operation down, you can link up like 5 operations to it as an example. If that applies to that entire like operating zone, that's amazing. Even better if it applies to zones, organization operations, because they are huge. So you could potentially, move around, get a lot more attacks in. We'll have to see how much it reduces by. As you know, like an attack is 10 if it's like 2 AP. It's not going to be too different. However, if it's like 50% of the AP, now it's 5 AP to launch an attack against an enemy fleet. That's going to be really cheap, and yeah, it's going to, you can technically double up the amount of attacks you can do. Obviously, it gets harder to be able to do any of this later into the game you get, especially against veteran players, because you are quite evenly trading fleet for fleet at that point. Reconnaissance Satellite can be delivered to the explorer's operations, where it surveys non-friendly fleets within the operation area and gives you fleet information about them. So we had a little bit of a look at this one earlier. Obviously, we got a bit more in depth now. We can see that it's generated a battle report. We have the Stealth Reconnaissance Satellite Eye of Horus on the left, and on the right we can see a enemy fleet, and you have all the details available to you there. How much weapon tech they've upgraded, how much tech points are in each ship, the whole list of ships as well. So great. It could be really useful in certain situations, especially if you're maybe more on the offense and you're looking to work out which fleets you need to hit first, which guys are whales to try and stay away from, all that kind of good stuff, without having to do something like fly a scout into them, etc. So, nice little item here. How useful it'll be, we'll have to wait and see. I think it'd be pretty useful, but we'll see. Privateer Info Recognition Jammer can mask a fleet, enabling it to be identified as a pirate. We can see here, tactical can be used on friendly fleets to change fleet's expanse livery to the version of a privateer's fleet. If you know what that looks like, it's the black and red fleets usually. I'm pretty certain that's the one it's referring to. So yeah, it's going to be useful for scouting about. You can maybe get away with sneaking your recons behind enemy lines using these and that kind of stuff, allowing you to maybe get some nice warp positions up and running. So yeah, definitely could be really useful. Again, you're going to have to watch this a little bit, because I'm sure players are going to recognize when fleets are moving about in a bit of a precarious area where there's not usually pirates and that kind of thing. So you do want to maybe have to role play a little bit when trying to use this as a pirate. We have the high intensity warp stabilizer, can create temporary warp stabilizing stability zones within the area of the explorer's activated operation, enabling friendly fleets to target the operation and travel through warp. Kind of like you would send your scout to an operation area, this is going to do the same thing. It's going to enable warp within the operation zone. It's going to last for a period of time, so maybe if you just need like a very quick warp, it's going to have to depend entirely on how fast this item itself gets to the operation, whether it replaces the use of recon ships or not. I'm guessing warps further away, especially if it's like maybe you only get 20 minutes to be able to warp there. If you got like a 4-hour warp or something like that, you're not going to see any use if it is limited, because we know it is limited by time on its up, and obviously we know it's got a distance limit on it as well. So we'll have to wait and see on this one. It could be really, really good. It could be completely useless. A lot of people, including myself, do run multiple recon fleets, and we'll have them all over the place anyway. So I'm not entirely sure how useful this will be to me personally. Maybe if there's an operation that I don't have a recon near, I could deploy this, get my fleets there quicker. We'll have to wait and see. And again, if this item is faster than the recon getting into position, this could be used for a very sort of blitzkrieg style attack where you're going to go in and hit very quick, very hard before they can get defenses up. And something like this may allow you to do that, because obviously recons can be scouted and shut down, where this doesn't seem to be able to be shut down as far as we are currently aware. Diffusion information concealment device can create a temporarily wide area information communication barrier, preventing friendly fleets within its boundary from being detected by enemy explorers. Disappearing fleets, guys. I mean, it was a bug and it was hilarious. I'm not 100% certain I like this one. Actually, I say that. I quite liked it when the fleets bugged out. We had disappearing recon fleets, and all of a sudden you got a warp incoming in. You're like, wait, how's he got warp? And then it's like, oh, there was a recon sat there the entire time that you couldn't visually see. They fixed that a long time ago. But it did lead to some very interesting gameplay where you've got sort of almost guerrilla-style-esque warfare going on, with fleets just appearing out of nowhere and all sorts of kind of fun stuff. So this could be an interesting one. I'm guessing this will also be timed, and if they know that you're there, whether they can maybe use a strike or something, if that'll just hit these invisible fleets anyway. We'll have to wait and see. We're also not entirely sure if it just makes them invisible or not, or it just means that they are covered in a fog of war for a period of time, regardless if you have vision or not. Operation Coordination Satellite. When deployed to activated operations, boosts the command capability of the fleet and temporarily broadens the operations scope. No idea what any of that really means. The command capabilities potentially means it'll allow you to have more CP within fleet. I somewhat doubt that though. Operation Coordinate Satellite. It's called a lighthouse as well. Expands the scope of your activated fleet operation area for something. I think what it might do, and it's not maybe pictured here, is it increases the size of the operation circle itself for a period of time. That's what I'm going to guess at, but we can't really tell from the picture. The description's not particularly great there either. But being called a lighthouse, I'm going to hazard a guess that it is something to do with being able to increase the size of the operation area. High power broadcast beacon can transmit messages to the designated airspace. All explorers within the area can view the broadcast information on the Expanse map. Allows information to be broadcast throughout a star system for its duration, I'm guessing. After this is launch to any operation. This could be an interesting one. More, I think, as a roleplay aspect. You could have like a big, massive battle, and you can place it down. You could call it the graveyard of Arrakis. I don't know, whatever the nearest planet is, or whatever you want to call a battle. And that could be permanently sat there for people to view while they're in system. They go, "Oh, Lord, there was a huge graveyard battle here. It'd be great." Something like that could be fun. Also, maybe if you are in a war where you have some rules and regulations in place, you could have these tactical items set up going like no-go areas, no man's land. You could mark up the graveyard to say you can't attack anybody in the graveyard, that kind of thing. And that's obviously, visual for all sides within the war at the time. So quite a few uses for this. But again, definitely more on the roleplay aspect, I feel. We have the Festive Plasma UAV Squadron and Mobile Plasma UAV Squadron. Can be delivered to buildings and fleets, performing continuous plasma UAV shows around targets. Fireworks, remember those? I think it was one of the New Year's Eves or something like that they brought this in, although I don't think they called it New Year's Eve, whatever they called it. You had the little drone thing, and you had to try and hit all the lights and beacons, and it was broken on PC because it was like you could like perma-click, and you just put on an auto clicker and just hit all the points on the way around. But yeah, it's that basically. Except I don't know if you'll be able to fly the little UAV around the little track to light everything up or what. But yeah, you will visually see some fireworks in the shape of stuff in space. Aircraft logistics device can be utilized to send aircraft from the base to friendly fleets, thereby reinforcing these fleets. This is amazing, in my opinion. This is one of the best items so far. As a lot of people will know, the meta has not completely shifted out of Swarm. It has shifted into a heavier Swarm, or some weird mix of a Swarm with some AA within Winged Hussars and built into fleet. And you know that if you are, an equal fleet, similar sort of tech point levels and stuff like that, both of you will absolutely decimate each other's aircraft. And, you can go from 80 or 120 aircraft down to 0. Half your damage is gone. And, you're kind of buggered at that point. Now, this is going to allow you to reinforce that fleet with aircraft without having to bring the fleet all the way home to reinforce and then send it all the way back out. This is one of the best things they've put into the game. Now, they have got a limit by the looks of it, because it says make a delivery to ally fleets reinforcing up to something aircraft squadrons. So you do need to be aware that there's a potential here where you might have to send multiple if you have a pretty heavy on the aircraft front type fleet. But we'll have to wait and see until, it's out, I guess. But definitely going to be a really useful item regardless. You can reinforce, maybe you've lost some of your Mistrals or something like that from a previous fight. Just send them off there instead of having to pull the fleet back and send them back out, etc. Although this does kind of hit another reason why the auxiliary ships are kind of useless, because at least, if you had an auxiliary ship on the front line, you just pull back to the auxiliary ship, reinforce the fleet, and send it back off. Now you don't necessarily have to if it is just the aircraft you've lost. Prefab module transportation UAV can be utilized to send prefab modules from the base to friendly fleets. Another really useful device if people don't know, and I don't see that many people use this too often. You can put prefabs into your fleet before sending it from your base. This allows you out in the open to be able to repair fleets. You do, costs quite a lot of UE coins. You do use a lot of prefabs to be able to do this as well. But at least this way you'll be able to get more prefabs out to that fleet to be able to fix it up a little bit more. It's arguably not too useful. The higher the more servers you go into, the more equal you are with other players. You're generally losing ships, and this won't rebuild ships that way. You can only repair. So be aware of that. Although, saying that as well, you could potentially send prefabs to Ox ships, so there's an option there as well. Resource request beacon can signal the space station for refined resource packs, the quantity of which is randomly determined. I have no idea what this one really does. Requests an something random amount of resource supplies from a space station controlled by a neutral org or an ally org. Honestly, I couldn't tell you what this does, but you get resources of some description and they're delivered to you somehow. Be an interesting one to work out and play around with. It could make, say, the early game, that rush to get into your areas, your base zones, to be able to build carriers and that kind of thing quicker, but we'll have to wait and see what's really going on with it. Remote control mining UAV, when delivered to the operation, enables one-time mining of resource nodes within the target operation. This could be relatively useful. It's going to depend on how long it takes, how much resources it can really hold and mine. But yeah, sometimes you do just need a little bump up of deuterium or something like that. If this allows you to maybe select like 3 or 4 deuterium nodes as an example, send this off, it mines a ton of deuterium, comes back, fills that little gap up for you. Could be really useful. It's going to be a wait and see. Obviously, this item and the previous item fall off late game when you go into large miners and advanced mining platforms and the likes, as you can usually mine way more resources than you can spend at that point. We've also got some of the equipment here. Now, equipment is installed on the player's base and provides bonus effects or grants special abilities to the base. First one off, we have the Arts Assembly Facility. Falls into 4 categories: Dawn, Standard, Antonius, Jupiter Industries, and the Noma Shipping Group. These facilities enhance ship production procedures and decrease resource usage when producing ships for respective companies. This isn't a bad one. For an example, a lot of people, especially the guys that have been around a bit longer and can feel the likes of Spear and Solar Whale within the same fleet, they're very expensive ships. Now, if the resource usage reduction is enough on this to reduce just maybe those 2 ships, there's potentially a reason to bring this in. Obviously, there are other uses as well. Eternal Storms and stuff like that are all expensive. All the big super caps and cruisers are expensive. Just due to, I'm just using Noma as a sort of an idea, because I think the Noma ships are vastly, well, not vastly, but are certainly more popular, especially on the larger format ships like the cruisers and up. You've got Chimera, Light Cone, Spear, Solar Whale. I mean, technically the Eddie Karen would be under that as well. So there is, some very big, expensive ships that are popular, very good ships that could be used, and Noma, seems to have the majority of them. But like I said, Jupiter Industries, the Dawn Standard is, your ST-59s, your CV-3K. So, it's definitely plenty of room for this to maybe be really useful. We'll have to wait and see on that. It says ship production procedures. I wonder if that will decrease times as well, because that would be quite nice. Again, this is definitely going to affect your bigger, heavier builds out there, but it will, affect most builds. We then have the core module and component integration platform are categorized into 3 types: Central District, Industrial District, and Port District. These streamline facility construction projects and lessen resource usage, as well as facilitate upgrade time when enhancing facilities in their respective area. Reduces resource consumption by something when building and upgrading facilities in the basic Central District. And then it's basically the same. This will allow you to potentially rush certain parts of your base a little bit quicker. So you might be able to, say if you put this on the Port District as an example, I believe it'll give you a reduction in time and reduction in cost to, say, capital Shipyard production. So it may possibly be really useful. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, endgame, this falls off a little bit once everything is built, although that is very, very, very much end game. So we'll have to wait and see on this one. I'm not too certain they'll be particularly useful, though. You can rush up pretty quick already. However, you know, a little bit extra speed, you may get, like, if it's enough, it could be really good. It could be like a day, carriers a day early, you know, battle cruisers a day early. So it could be really good. We'll have to wait and see. And yeah, obviously we got other stuff, industrial district as well. That can maybe get your mining up faster. We then have the cruiser exclusive Shipyard, adds extra production lines specifically for cruiser manufacturing. There you go, straight up. More cruiser output could be useful. The meta has shifted into heavier fleets. More cruiser output isn't too bad. Obviously, currently you have cruisers can be built on all sections. So this would be like adding a 6th, because you've got 3 standard shipyards. You have the super capital shipyard, and you have the weird top shipyard, which I can't remember the name of. And they can all build cruisers. So adding a 6th, I generally think this might be a little bit overkill. Battlecruiser Assembly Workshop refines the battlecruiser production process, reducing the time taken from manufacturing. So we don't get, you know, the ability to build extra battlecruisers here, but we get a reduction in battlecruiser build time. This could be quite nice. Spears take a long time to build. ST-59s take a short time to build, but even reducing that down further wouldn't be bad, especially if you're planning to use them to tank and potentially lose them. So, could be good. We'll have to see. Ship Production Coordination Controller aids in managing the production line and raises the maximum limit of the production queue. At the moment, you can only have 2 ship types within the production queue. If this brings it to 3, for anybody who likes to queue up stuff, this works quite nicely for you. It allows you to get maybe potentially an extra ship into the production queue, so you can have like 3 things queued up. We'll have to wait and see on this one though, because that's all they've really said. It might just be some other limit that I'm not aware of currently. 6, the Outpost Control Core enables outpost construction, with the type of outpost varying based on the control core utilized. Armed outposts have superior HP and enhanced defensive firepower. A quick outpost requires less construction time, whereas a large outpost offers a more expansive operation area. Now, I quite like the idea of having different types of outposts, the same way as we have different types of mining platforms. The one here that I'm slightly don't like is the large outpost, and that's because people have a tendency to try and reserve spaces all over the map, blocking other players off, and I just think it's greedy at the end of the day. If you take a spot, take it, but don't take like 5 or 6 spots. What's the bloody point? You're never going to go through that amount of resources. And at the point where you go to war and you've lost your spot, well, the chances are you're probably going to go hive up with the rest of everybody. You're not going to go sit alone again and get blown up by another 10 guys, because that's how it goes. So yeah, I'm not too sure on the large outpost. I can see that being a pain in the ass and starting many, many wars, which I guess isn't necessarily a bad thing. Just blow them up if you see them. The quick outpost, if that's also got a reduced sort of cost to them, that would be quite useful. If not, it's probably not going to save you all that much time, and maybe this is where the armed outpost with the extra HP and stuff might give you a little bit better survivability of your outposts and stuff like that. Although I don't know that many people that personally, well, go after outposts, so we'll have to see really. But yeah, it's not bad. Useful, maybe. When located in a scattered asteroid belt, resource mining UAV Squadron enhances the base's resource yield and resource exchange rate. This is actually really good, and I wonder, we'll have to find out if this thing stacks with like advanced mining platforms and stuff like that, or it's only used within within operation areas. But being able to buff up the amount of resource yields and stuff like that, absolutely fantastic. You really can't probably go wrong with this. We can see a little bit of extra information here. Gains an additional resource yield when the base is in a scattered asteroid belt, increasing the resource trade and exchange ratio of the base by something. Again, we'll have to find out how this one works. Being in a scattered asteroid belt, not the end of the world. Can't use... Well, actually, would it be the end of the world now? It might be. Destroyer fleets are starting to struggle against the sheer tankiness we can bring in with cruisers and the likes. We'll have to see. We then have the base defense and tracking system, aids in managing enemy fleet data when the base is under attack, equipping the base defense fleet with the capability to counter multiple enemy fleets. When defending the base, all flagships in the defense fleet gain the flagship skill multi-target counterattack. When multiple fleets attack the fleet simultaneously, it launches a counterattack against number of sub-target fleets with a counterattack efficiency of something. This kind of sounds a bit like the Thunderstorm's flagship skill. If it is, and it allows you to take on multiple fleets at the same time, it's going to be very, very much harder to take on enemy bases if they have this equipped and they have a fleet at their disposal within the fleet. This could be really, really good and make it a lot harder to just gank a player's base down. There are pros and cons to this, of course. The auto-repairing armor accelerates the base maintenance process, boosting the recovery rate of its HP. If this is also sort of in use at the same time as, I don't know if these are, a choice are, but if you can use this at the same time as the base defense and tracking system, and this is active while it's working in combat, and now you have recovery speed of your base, that could be quite nasty little combo going on. Again, if it's only after the battle is finished, this could also be quite good. It stops potentially a second wave going straight onto your base of enemies, because it could potentially help recover quick enough that they might second guess their ability to take it. We then have the base platform fire control radar. Aids in managing the base defense fleet's firepower, focusing fire on an enemy vessel during base attacks. When determined, the base, all flagships in the defense fleet gain the flagship skill Aggressive Loss. All fleets launch a focused and coordinated strike that prioritizes attacking number of targets within range of the selectable target. Reduces the cooldown of the base's self-defense weapons by something. Being able to focus fire ships down is actually really good, and one of the problems with bases is you generally don't find them firing at the same ship. They fire all over the place. And they will hit multiple ships. Obviously, sometimes that is quite useful. Most of the time it's not, though, and being able to just remove damage off the board is generally better. This could be used in that situation, and it could be good. We'll have to see. So a lot of have to sees here, because they don't really give us too much info, do they? We have the BVR aircraft guidance device, can steer fighters housed in the defense hangar, entering the base to execute strategic strikes. Base strategic strikes, it's not a bad idea. The problem with strategic strikes at the moment is if you are using it to try and kill an enemy fleet and they are running any aircraft, you've probably lost the entire base defense fleet's fighters. And I'm guessing they are going to be able to be damaged if they are strategic striking from the base, because I'm sure someone will question that. I'd say probably, almost certain of it, actually. It's not, untargetable like it is within the base at that point. Probably not too useful, might be good for farming pirates and getting tech points on your fighters, though. We have the Military Operations Center, enhances operational management capabilities and expands the maximum number of operations that can be conducted. More operations, not necessarily a bad thing. Pretty simple, that one. Arbiter Planning Center can raise the maximum storage capacity for action points. Also not a bad one, especially if you're the type of person that can only log in maybe once or twice a day for a longer period of time. Having a bigger bang for action points is quite useful for those type of players because, you know, you can bank up, get in, burn your action points, take your break or work or whatever you're doing, get back in later. Bigger bank of action points allows you to do more stuff each of those times you can get on. Obviously, recovery would be better for people that are more active in the game and online more regularly. Trade Communication Relay Station enables the issuance of production orders, permitting galactic factions to manufacture ships on your behalf. I really want this to be really good because I love the idea of being able to, like, commission ships from the galactic factions, which is basically what this is going to allow you to do. We'll have to wait and see how this works. Could be really cool, could be really good. We'll have to play around with that one. Combat Microchip Center supports simulated combat exercises, generating combat microchips that enhance the blueprint experience. It looks like you can maybe put stuff into training or some kind of training, and you'll generate combat microchips over time. Good for the PvE players more here because this will allow them to push past that level 30 soft cap and be able to push into those level 50s. Good for generally all players, really. PvP, bit less of an issue, but obviously, as anybody knows, trying to get a battlecruiser or carrier to 50 takes a lot of XP, so getting additional microchips here might be useful for that situation. But yeah, these are really interesting changes. The base stuff especially, I'm really looking forward to playing around with some of these equipments to boost certain aspects of the base and potentially, you know, change up maybe build orders and that kind of thing. Items, again, looking really interesting. In my opinion, I think the most interesting is the base defense and tracking system, able to hit multiple targets. That could be really nice. I am interested in the resource production bonuses because that could be quite nice. And item-wise, probably... I mean, I'm interested in the request beacon because that just sounds like a bit of fun. The remote mining UAV is also going to be interesting. Probably the best ones, though, in my opinion, are the scouting one, ability to scout enemy fleets. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And I like the idea of the recognition jammer as well. I think you could have a lot of fun with that. Getting your sort of stealthy little frigates now into position to give you some really nice warps. And potentially even warp drops. So, there you have it. Don't forget to like and comment down below which ones of your favourite items in this list so far and your favourite equipment. There might be more to come. We'll have to wait and see. Other than that, have a good one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.